Okay. We'll start from the top line. So the Rebbe is explaining the power of Nisyonis. There is Inyan from Shem Havaya and there's Inyan from Shem Elikim. Shem Havaya is the Inyan of Elokus, which does not have the Hagbolis of Teva. We discussed that already, where Teva, the meaning of Teva is where one thing brings about another thing. It's called cause and effect. Within Teva, everything is mugable, and it lacks the inyan of Elokus. It lacks the inyan of having a, so to speak, a truth presence. It is always dependent on something else. Like we said, we always give emotional, right? The table is standing on four legs. There is missing the essence. What in fact is it? What does it stand for? Why is it chayes? Oh, it happens to stand because we have four legs on it. Shem Havaya, this is the Inyan Elokus itself. This is not dependent on Teva. Like coming back in a Mesholim level, on the human level. What makes a table? Not the four legs and the board. It's the human intellect. It's the highest order. And if there is no table, he'll make a table. Because there is highest in it. Something real to it. This is what we mean in saying the table breaks down, it'll get fixed. It's not just there while it's there in this particular moment, in a particular time. It's there because it's real. Like the muscle that we always use, that if a finger gets cut, it heals. Why does it heal? Because there's real chayas in it. It's not just there because the finger is there, but because there is chayas in it. So even if it's damaged, that's only the chitzonis, only the finger is damaged. The chayas is real. Can't damage it. This is Inyan Chai, this is Inyan Havaya. Real chayas. Elikim is that which, how it expresses itself in the world, And in the world, everything is precarious. There's nothing real. Precarious means shaky, dependent. It's just being held up. It's not the real thing. I think I once explained to you, Binyamin, my friend, what's going on?
The lesson just finished. So there's time for everything. It's to go, it's to wash. There's no in between. Human being is basic, not an angel.
Life is a continuous thing. Life does not have in between. You don't live a moment and then stop living and then come back to life.
So that's stopping. To go to the earth form is not
Where's your copy?
there, somebody put it probably somewhere else. I guess I need to do the same. Put it in the sleeve.
Yeah, keep it. If you would be involved, you would have it. I'd like to get you involved.
It's also a job.
Wasn't it?
It's also a job.
Right, it's a job. But I think you're waking up. It's time.
How do you see that the travel without noticing the...
Sorry.
How do you see the traveling?
Traveling?
Yes. Of not considering time and space has to do with the voice of Hashem. So let's say you can go through a wall, you can fly. What does it got to do? And go in the fire, walk in the fire. What does it got to do with the work of Hashem? The job of Hashem is the Ahavta l'Re'echa kamocha. Where to give tzedakah, what manos. So if I can go to a fire, now I'm
I understand.
Connection.
All right. I hear. So you have this question, and it will be answered in the Mitzvah, okay? All right. We are starting from the top of the page, Nun Dalet. Okay. Kwan is Ba'aliyil. You have it? You have Nun Dalet, top? So I was explaining the union from Shem Havaya and Shem Elokim. Shem Havaya, the union from the Elokus, and Shem Elokim is how this union is in the world. In world, it's Teva. And Teva means that nothing has a real presence. And I was just going to mention again something that I'm sure mentioned in the past. Then you know that we had the Mishkan, and then we have first Beis Hamikdash, the second Beis Hamikdash, and we're waiting out for the third Beis Hamikdash. And in the Zohar, the Rebbe Nixan Nasicha, it says that the first and second Beis Hamikdash were made by human beings, human hand, and Ein Lahem Kiyum Klal. It's called Binyona de Barnash. Binyona de Barnash, or Binyan Barnash of a human being. Ein Lahem Kiyum Klal doesn't have any kiyum, any means of sustenance, any kiyum klal. Klal means it all. The third Beis Hamikdash will be Binyona de Kutchabrihu, Binyan from the Mebishn, and that has a kiyum nitzchi. At least it is. So we have to try to understand, the nuances of these words. Binyona de Barnash ein le kiyum klal. So the question is, what does it mean? Elohim Klal. The first Beis Hamikdash stood 410 years. The second Beis Hamikdash stood 420 years. Together they stood 830 years. And the Mishkan stood also some 350 years. That's over 1,000 years. 1,200 years. That's Elohim Klal. It didn't stand at all. Klal. It's not Nitzchi. If you say Elohim Nitzchi, I understand. But with Elohim Klal, 1,000 years is a long time. The pshat in this, I'd like you to understand this. You asked me about the Lakus, and I want you to understand this. The pshat in this is this. The first Beis Hamikdash stood 400, second and 400. When anything that a human being makes, it stands because it's built in a natural way. One brick on top of the other brick, on top of the other brick. Big walls, one holding up the other. Like this building, how does it stand? This wall doesn't stand by itself. This wall stands because the other wall is supporting it. They're holding each other up. Otherwise it will all collapse. And they dig deep into the ground, and it stands. So it doesn't stand on its own, doesn't have its own real means of standing. It's being built in such a way that one thing holds up the other, and that's how it is stand. That's called Ein Kiyum Klal. It stands, but even while it stands, it's not a real kiyum. It's just being held up. It's like if I'm holding this cup. Is the cup in the air? It's not in the air. I'm holding it. You understand? The Yonah Kuchabrihu is a different thing, a different category completely. It has a real presence. It has a real chayes. That stands nitzchi. Because anything that has real chayes, like the Yonah Kuchabrihu, is a yeshli kiyum, and not only kiyum, but kiyum nitzchi. But kiyum nitzchi is not the pshat. Kiyum nitzchi does not mean in terms of time, it's a long time. Kiyum nitzchi means every moment that it stands, it's nitzchi. Every moment that it stands is nitzchi. Binomen de banash, even if it stands 1,000 years, it's not a kiyum, because the whole time as it stood, it could fall down. It didn't have a real basis for standing. Binoda Tekuchabriu is nitzchi, means from the very moment when it's there, it's nitzchi, because it stands on its own. It's real.
The roof stand up because the walls support. Like you take the walls out, it's gonna stand because it's like stand nitzchi.
The roof and the walls and the floors, everything, it's all one thing. In Binonu de Banash, it's like I say, the walls is one thing, one wall, another wall, a roof, it's all put together. The Binonu de is not put together. Why is there a roof? Because the house is a Beis Hamikdash has a roof. Not because I put a roof on it. I'll explain to you from, a human being has 2 feet, Baruch Hashem, gesunde feet, 2 hands, a body, and a head. And the head has various parts. This structure of the human being, this is not like, okay, now we have a head. Now this head has to be held up. Let's put a body underneath it. This body needs to be able to move. Let's put feet to it. This body needs to be able to hold a cup. Let's give him a right hand. Oh well, he needs also a left hand. So we put it together. So we have a kind of a caricature of a human being. That's not the way it works. Every detail of the human being is the same part of the whole human being. It's not a put together of pieces. The entire human being represents the Nefesh HaAdam. The Nefesh HaAdam is a perfect and complete human being. And Begashmis, it expresses itself in different Eivorim, different parts. But these are not different parts that are added to each other in order to facilitate, make possible certain activities. Well, this is the human being. A Kohen was not allowed to be a Baal Mum. Wasn't a Baal Mum? A Baal Mum is missing a hand. That's for sure. He's missing a toenail. He's a Baal Mum. Who needs a toenail? He can walk without a toenail. A toenail is part of the Shleimus Odom. You understand? This is the total human being. It's not added on to. It's not put together like you put walls and 4 legs on a board. Oh, if you put a board, how is it going to stand? Put a leg. No, it's not enough. Put another leg. That's not the way it works. This is the essential concept itself. A human being in total, this is the human being. The same thing beyond the Kutsubriya, the beyond the Beis HaMikdash. It represented the Beis HaMikdash, the essence of Beis HaMikdash, the godly essence of Beis HaMikdash. It's not put together from pieces. Parasicha from Reb about this, how this actually works out the Gashmis. But I just wanted to understand and explain to you the concept. You understand? Real. This is the union of a lakus. A lakus is something which is real in itself. This is Shem Havaya. Shem Elikim is the way it comes out in the world. Teva, where everything is just put together from little pieces. And in Teva, you lose sight. You lose sight of what's really going on. That's why the Teva is Helam. It's Malim on the Shem Havaya. And from a Teva perspective, you could say that what's a human being? How come a human being has 2 hands, like the scientists say? Oh, he developed 2 hands because he needed 2 hands. Upside down thinking. You understand? Think of a human being without a neshama. Think of a human being without a neshama. So everything is precarious. Everything is just shaky. It's not a real entity. We say a human being is a godly creation, which means it's a real entity. Complete, perfect. So Shem Havaya is concealed in the Shem Elikim. And in Teva, you cannot see. You can understand that Pesachel Linyan, but you don't really experience it. What you experience is the Teva, is the Shem Elikim. Through Nisyonos and standing up to Nisoyon. A Nisoyon is that which challenges a person to look deeper into himself, beyond the Teva, to look to the essence. And this brings out by him, and it connects him to the real Chayes in the world, to the Shem Havaya that's in the world, to that which is L'mayla Mahata. This is the Pshat, and this is Avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem is to reveal godliness in the world. Not just to have a good world, being good to each other. To reveal the real Chayes Eliki in the world. Just like Benjamin, a person has to be healthy. What does it mean to be healthy? That every part of his goof is perfect? there are people who have every part of their body perfect, perfectly healthy. And they don't have a bit of chayas, a bit of inspiration to do anything. Nothing. That's not the koyach to get up and do anything. Because he doesn't have the spirit. But he's perfectly healthy, but God Gashmias. Nothing missing. Doctors cannot help him. Because he's healthy. The body is healthy. But that's healthy. There's nothing there. No chayes. You can have a perfect world. You know, everybody has what they need, everybody has their food, they has their room, and you give tzedakah, like you say, you're being kind to each other, but there's no chayos. There's no godliness, there's no chayos, there's no real faith. In order to bring the chayos alaki into the world, you have to break through the teva of Hashem alaki. And that happens through the avodah of Nisyenis. Only a Yid has the koyach to stand up to the Nisoyin, and through that he is revealing the inner Elokiyah of Hashem Havaya that's l'mayim min haTeva. Right?
How does it reveal? And what? That's the only way he reveals that. What way?
To Nisyenis. It's the only way to reveal Elokus in the world. The real Elokus, the highest Elokus. Just like I point out, I mentioned to you before, that a person has a cut in his finger, the finger is damaged, and you put a Band-Aid on and you cover it up, and it heals. Why does it heal? Why does it heal? Because it has chayas, it's alive, and chayas ha-nefesh. This little cut reveals to you that there is a chayas in the person. I met, guys from Israel. It's standard in Israeli society that somebody goes through the army, and then they pick up their packs and they fly out. After they're finished with the army, they fly out. Where do they go? All over the world. They go to India, where is all Schwarzjahr, Tan de Chimach, But beyond that, I've spoken to guys. They go to the most remote wilderness in the world. They live among, in a desert, among wild beasts, among snakes and scorpions. Why? Because in their life, they did not feel the chayas. The whole time was concerned about the goof, didn't feel chayas. So they expose themselves to danger in order to begin to feel, I'm alive. I want to live. When the person is exposed to danger, he like, oh, I'm alive, I want to live. But normally he doesn't feel that he wants to live. He doesn't feel the chayas. Everything is just goop, goop, goop. This is similar to the Inyan from Yisrael. But this is not, the chayas Eliki, they were looking for at least Chayas HaNefesh. But this is a similar meaning, that through Nisyanis, you come to recognize and to experience and to reveal in the world Chayas Eliki, which is higher than Teva. Are you with me, Bilman? You understand that? You have any questions? Okay, let's continue. Ukvar nisboer liyil. We explained previously already. Dimho yod gilu shem havaya, habilti bal gvul. That if the gilu shem havaya, which is bilti bal gvul, without limit, k'moi shehu, if it would be the gilu shem havaya just the way it is in the world, the way it is, l'mayla min hateva, bilti bal gvul, shelo yalidei shem elikim klal, without the process of shem elikim, lo yeho oilam v'shichelim lekabel klal, the worlds would not be able to accept that gilui at all. If it were to come directly from Shem Havaya without Shem Elikim, then worlds would not be able to accept it. V'hainu, which would mean Shaloiho Yom Mizhav Mitzius Hayesh V'Hagvul, that the whole Mitzius, the whole presence of Yesh and Gvul would not come into being. Do we understand that? Do we need to explain it a little bit more? Let me explain it a little bit. I pointed out that in the person, the intelligence of the person is a real koyach nefesh. And even such simple statements, 2 times 2 equals to 4, is a nefesh. Even though this is something which can be completely proven and shown by Gashmius. I pointed out even an animal, remember I told you the story. Computers can give you the right answer. No chayas in it. Computer doesn't have any chayas. But a human being has a different sense of it. By him it does touch a little of the inner of chayas. What is the inner of chayus in this 2 times 2 equals to 4? It is clearly not the fact that 2 times 2 equals to 4, because that's something which can be proven, shown. It is that things have a certain truth, certain symmetry, a balance. This means that it's balanced. 2 times 2 has to be a correct number that equals 2 times 2. This is something which comes without HaNefesh. Like a person, he feels a certain surge of life when he realizes 2 times 2 equals to 4, because it fits. This union that things fit, which is rooted in the fact that the intelligence of a person, that nefesh or odom, things fit, things are right, true, and goes beyond truth, it's truth itself. This is the root of all that logic. So, if a person were involved and aware only of truth, he would never come down to the question of 2 times 2. Where does 2 times 2 come in? 2 times 2 comes in the world where truth is hidden. And you have a question, how much is 2 times 2? Because this 2 and this 2 are 2 separate things. And you have to first figure out what it is and show where the truth is. But if he were involved just in the principle of truth itself, he would never express itself in terms in terms of gvul, which is like 2 and 2. In order to reveal a nefesh in the worldly level, you have to come down to the world where the inyan, the nefesh, is not so obvious. And then you have a question of 2 times 2. And from that you go back and you sense, oh, there's truth to this. This is what he said. That without the Shem Elokim, without Shem Havaya itself, there would be no world. You know, Dover Mukbal, because you already have the whole truth. You don't need anything else. So Oilam, a Metzius of Yesh and Kur would not come into being at all. Ki im tzorich li is tchila. There must be first his labshu Shem Havaya b'Shem Elokim. The Shem Havaya has to be mislabish and come through the Shem Elokim. Why they say Shem Havaya b'Shem Elokim? Because the whole Chayus has to come is from Shem Havaya. Shem Elokim is only a container. Shem Havaya is the real Chayus Elokim. Everything has to be created, has to come from Elokus. Because without Elokus there's nothing there.
I mean, if Shem Havaya is revealed to you and you're like connected to Shem Havaya, you don't need nature. It's not for what?
That's right. And if you reveal Shem Havaya in the nature will dissipate.
No purpose.
That's right. So Shem Havaya has to be mislabish b'Shem Elokim. Let me speak briefly about this Islapshus, Shem Havaya b'Shem Elokim. Elokim means master, power, ruler. Shem Havaya means the source of existence, the first of Chayas, Havaya. Where is the whole principle of master come in? A ruler, power. Power comes in and functions where there is multiple different things. I have this cup and tell you, okay, put this over here. This is Shem Elokim. Put this over here. So that there is this object, and there is this place, and there is that place, and you say, no, this doesn't belong here, it belongs over there. If there was no multiple places, and there was no Hagbolas in places, and there was no Hagbolas in objects, there was just the truth, the pure truth in itself, then there would be no Hagbolas. The Hagbolah comes mitzad Hashem Elokim. Hashem Elokim is that which takes Hashem Havaya and brings it down to a level where, in order that you should have anything, you have to command how it should be. How do you make a table? A table, you make a board with 4 legs. You have to command how to do it. It doesn't happen by itself. Hashem Havaya, it's automatic. Like we said, he asked me about the roof, and they said, it's all one part of the whole thing. Just like a human being, every part of a human being is one thing. Comes from the same nefesh. It's not made separately. The human being, the whole human being is structured from one likud. It's not put together separately. And develops perfectly. Every part of it. This is Pshat Hashem Havaya is mislabish in Shem Elokim. So the highest, the essential highest of Shem Havaya comes in Shem Elokim when Shem Elokim breaks it down and makes it, puts it down on the Teva level. He describes the same thing, but describes it on the Teva level. And now everything exists on the Teva. Hashem said there should be light in the world. Light. Why would be light? This is mitzad Hashem Havaya. Should be light. How does light come into the world, become part of the Teva HaYom? You have a sun, you have a moon, you have stars. It's the same light. But it's mislavish in Shem Elokim, it's mislavish in Teva. Once it's mislavish in Teva, then what do you see is the Teva. You don't even see the Inyan that Hashem created light. You see Hashem created the sun, Hashem created the moon, and light is automatic. You don't see the real Inyan that Hashem created over here. You know what I'm saying? The light and day and night. You see a sun, a ball of fire, a moon that reflects the stars. You know what I'm saying? You see how man sees Gashmis. But what do they all together represent? The Inyan Hashem said that there should be light. The sun is part of the Inyan, that there should be light, and so there should be day, there should be night, there should be years, and so forth. So this is that he slaps Hashem Havaya b'Shem Elokim.
When you say physically, fluctuation is like two person garment, two different things, and
That's right.
you say that the kingdoms when you conceal the
That's right. Like I explained to you, because that's not how I explain. Light is a godly concept. But this light comes into the world through a physical means, where the Inyan that this is light is not really so obvious. If you ask a scientist, what's sun? He won't tell you. The sun is there to give you light. You won't say it like that. It wouldn't occur to him. Right? It's a burning star, that's all it is. It's maybe Islamshus. But what, in truth, what is it? It is the union of light. But it was mislabish in Gashmis. That's right. They made it that they should be in Gashmis. Double multiple. And this is how it's possible, even after the light was created. We have light and we have dark. Because it was lavish in Gashmis, therefore it has its limited place. It has a limited time when there's light and time when it's dark. I explained to you one time that light and dark are the same thing, winter and summer, and all the different variations in time. All the different variations in time are only varied on a timely basis, in a limited way. What do I mean by this? That on the earth itself, it is always light and it's always dark. Exactly the same. Always. It's always midday and it's always midnight. It's always midwinter, always midsummer. And all the variations in the middle. So mitzad the inyan, the truth of what was created over here, it's always the same. But it was mislabish in Gashmius, in limit. This is why it's possible that you should have day and night. But in one place it's day, the other place it's night. But in perspective of truth, it's always the same. This is what he's saying over here. That's what he slapshus. Take the real truth, the real essence, and represent it in a Gashmizic level, and then it becomes limited. It gets a limited way of expressing it. Tzorich li is hislabs Hashem Havai b'Shem Elokim v'hainu b'chinas ha'orach hitzenius b'Shem Havai kana. What can be hislabs from Hashem Havai and Hashem Elokim? Only the ha'orach hitzenius of Hashem Havai. Only the ha'orach hitzenius of Hashem Havai. Because the essence of Shem Havaya cannot be mislavish in Shem Elokim. Just like I explained to you just now about day and night. The ha'orach hitzenis of day and night. That it's light and dark, that can be mislavish in Teva. But the essence of day and night, that remains always the same. Like on the earth itself, it's always day and always night. But the Rebbe says on the earth there should be day and night, and it always is like that. The essence of it is always. But the Chitzonius, it varies. Because day and night is not something that is there automatically. It's there because the sun shines. And when the sun does not shine, it becomes night. When the sun shines, it becomes day.
Atzmis and Chitzonius of Shem Havaya.
Hmm?
Well, it's Atzmis and Hierarchis and Chitzonius.
Ha'orach Yitzenis M'Shem Havaya. That's not Ha'orach Yitzenis. Ha'orach Yitzenis is, like I explained to you, there's I give you the morsel from day and night. Day and night is an essential concept, essential thing. Ha'orach Yitzenis of that is how it affects the person, its functionality, how it affects a person, how it affects the world, a certain place in the world.
Chitzonius of Shem Havaya, how it's dressed up already in Shem
How what?
Hierarch Chitzonius of Shem Havaya, it's after it's dressed up in Shem Elokim?
No, Ha'orach Yitzenis Shem Havaya is mislabish in Shem Elokim, and through that it can be in Teva. The essence of Shem Havaya cannot be mislabish in Shem Elokim, cannot be limited.
Before Shem Elokim, it's Shem Havaya have essence and Chitzonius?
Yeah.
If we say Chitzonius is how it's effect, but
I'll explain to you. This is something which we spoke many times about. The sun is always light. Not only is it always light, but the sun cannot be dark. There's no such thing as darkness in the sun. Just like by us, the primary state is darkness. In order to make light, you have to bring light in. The sun, the primary state in the sun is light. Darkness doesn't exist. It's not possible to exist. Now, this is the essence of the sun itself. In the sun itself, the sun comes a light. It's called, this is the ha'orah from the sun. It's called the light. That's a ha'orah. The sun itself, that's what the sun is unto itself. From that comes a ha'orah, a light. This light, there are two levels, generally. There is the essence, and there's ha'orah chitzenis. The essence is the way the light of the sun is inside the sun itself. Inside the sun itself there is also light. I'll talk about it in a minute. And then outside of the sun there's light. What is this light outside of the sun? The light that's outside of the sun is that light which spreads out further out to illuminate the place which is dark. It can be mislabish in the world which is dark and make it light. That ha'orah can be mislabish in the world. Why? Because that ha'orah is not essentially light. It comes from light. That can combine with darkness, like we spoke many times. But the light of the sun, the way it is inside the sun, it is also light. But that light is a light that represents the sun itself. It's a light that doesn't know that darkness can exist. That light cannot be mislabish in the world. Chetzenis means the function of the light can be mislabish, the functional part of the light. But the essential aspect of light, what light is, that comes from the sun, which means it's a light that knows no darkness, that cannot be mislabish. Straight? Okay, so what's mislabish in Shem Elokim is Ha'orach Yitzhei is Shem Havaya. However, there's a big thing that happens as a result. The Oz Davko, and only then, when the Ha'orach Yitzhei is Shem Havaya is mislabish in Shem Elokim, only then, Yicholim Lovoi, it is possible to come, it's possible to reach, and to recognize and to reveal legilui bechinas pnimis v'atzmi Shem Havaya, the gilui of the bechina of the pnimius and the atzmis of Shem Havaya, habilti bal gvul, the Shem Havaya which is b'tad gvul, the normal Shem Havaya that's mislabish Shem Elokim, this is the chitzoni that can be murbo. But through that we can come to the true aspect of Shem Havaya. The bilti bal gvul, alidei hanisoyin, kanal. How do we reach then the essence of Shem Havaya? Through the nisoyin. And this is the big thing of nisoyinus. That nisoyin can reveal that aspect of Shem Havaya that normally would not be able to be revealed. Because it would not allow the whole union of Hagbolah to come into being. But through the Nisoyin, because the Shem Havaya is Mislabish and Shem Elokim Hagbolah, then through Nisoyin you come to recognize and to reveal the real essence of Shem Havaya, that which is above them.
But before the world was created, without Shem Elokim's essence of Havaya revealed?
Yeah, without Shem Elokim, yeah.
So what do we accomplish?
Ah.
The purpose of
That's right. So there are two points to be made to that. Number one, then it was revealed only in Bli Gvul, not in Gvul. In Gvul you didn't see it.
Even in Gvul
That's right. Even in Gvul. And then there's a deeper aspect of that really, the fact that it can be revealed in Gvul reveals a deeper aspect of Shem Havaya than was revealed even before. That is really that which is, in real essence, higher than Shem Havaya. Shem Havaya is Bli Gvul. Then there is an aspect that is a source of Shem Havaya, higher than Shem Havaya, which is higher than Gvul and Bli Gvul. And since it's revealed in Gvul, Bli Gvul is revealed in Gvul, that shows that there is an aspect that is higher than Gvul and Bli Gvul. And this is the real union that's accomplished as a result. This we will still have. So through the Nisoyin, we reveal the Shem Havaya Bilti B'Gvul in Gvul. Ukmei shehu b'Nisoyin the Avram Avinu Olav HaSholem. And as it was in the Nisoyin Avram Avinu, Shalidei she'omed b'Nisoyin, where as a result of the fact that he stood up to the Nisoyin, Bal legilui oireisov habilti bal Gvul, he actually reached that there should be Gilei in himself habilti bal Gvul by him, kanal, to the point where the fire did not consume him. He lived at a different level, at the level of Bli Gvul. Kamei Kain, who the similar in is lefi erech. Lefi erech means relatively speaking. You know what that means, relatively speaking? B'chol nisoyin v'nisoyin, in every nisoyin she'ha'odom oimed, when a person stands up, neged levushe ha'teva, he stands up against the garments of teva. In other words, against the limits of Teva, Ba'anhogas ha'olam, in how the world is conducted. Shehein ha'alomes v'hesterim, which are the concealments, shemoinim u'miyakrim mitoiro va'avodah. All in Yorim of Teva are obstacles in the way of Torah v'avodah. Why? Because Teva, I want to discuss this for a moment. Torah v'avodah. In order to learn Torah, like you learning Torah, you learn whatever you learn in Torah. You learn Nigla, you learn Chassidus. You have to be distracted from Teva HaYom to learn Torah. If you go to school and you learn engineering, you're involved in the world. You could see how this has to do with the world. When you learn Torah, the world opposes that. And the world asks you, what are you doing? What are you talking about? It's nothing to do with the world you live in. That means that this is the helem that conceals the Holocaust. And it is really it's an obstacle in a way. Because, and in order to be able to clear your mind and delve into learning Torah at whatever level, you have to be able to, you have to stand up to this step and say, and disregard it. How do you disregard it? You say, no. This is what it seems, Teva seems to be the case, but I don't believe it. Teva is not the real thing. The real thing is Holocaust. And if you don't say that, you won't be able to delve into learning. Because the question will always constantly gnaw at you. You know what no means? Bother you. What am I doing? How is this? What does it have to do with what I'm living? What is the reality of this? You have to constantly fight it off and say the reality is Holocaust, not them. So relatively speaking, every Nisoyim is a union of standing up to Teva and denying Teva its presence and saying, no, the real presence is Holocaust, not Teva. And that you do within Teva, within the world. You learn one Mishnah, another Mishnah, one word, another word, in all a limited fashion. And at every step of the way, there is that same Yisrael. And this brings a person to reveal, so to speak, a higher union in the world than world. To recognize in the world and to experience in the world something which is higher than the world.
So mainly we broke our own nature, right? You always have a doubt, something have a doubt. If I do the real, what's related to the world, and you still do it, like you prove to yourself.
That's right.
More the person work with himself.
And this is an Indian from Yisrael. It does not happen unless you fight it. You have to fight it in a gross way, to fight it in a limited way, step by step. But you have to stand up to it. You say, I'm going to learn an hour. Let's say. An hour, I'm dedicated to learning Torah. So even though it's limited in the hour, but even during this hour, the Teva HaOlam comes to you and says, what are you doing? And And you say, I'm not asking you, I'm not listening, I'm just learning to you. Because this is the Hashem's code. This is the truth of the world. This is not the Teva, this is the truth. So it's a limited Nisoyan. But in that limited Nisoyan, there is a Gilui Shemava. Excuse me. That which is Omar Mehatev. And it cannot happen without it. If a person does not break away, does not let go of his teva, of his view of teva ha'olam, as he cannot learn, he can't learn even 1 minute. It's a difference, an hour, a minute, or a day. Can't learn even 1 minute. Right away, he's asking, how is that to do with teva? What is that to do with the reality of the world? But what am I talking about? The only way to get into this, to learn Teva, is saying, no, the reality of Teva itself is Holocaust. And that's what I'm learning. I'm learning about Holocaust. I'm learning about the godly view of the world I'm living in, not the Teva view. That's what I'm learning about. That's when you're actually breaking through the Teva, through the barriers of Teva. Okay, let's learn the next line. Who oimeid, so Teva, this is, Halomis has stated there are obstacles and prevent a person from Torah Vaveda. Who oimeid neged kol minei omiyat. And he stands up against anything that is an obstacle. Why is he standing up to this obstacle? So that he will not be separated from Elokus, so that he will not allow himself to be absorbed and connected to Teva. He stands up not to be separate from Elokus. And he engages in Torah V'Aveda kol echad v'yechad lefi erkoi, each one according to his level. Harei hu bo alidei zeh, and thus alidei zeh, through that, and as a result of that, he reaches to get legilui oir elyon shelamaylo min hateva. To get a gilui oir elyon, a gilui of a higher oir that is higher than Teva, an oil that is not dependent on Ametzias Teva. He gets a perspective that is not dependent on how things are structured in Teva. How does it work? He gets a perspective of the truth itself, not how it works. The godly perspective. What is the truth of the scene? This is mamash ha'inyan from Gilui l'mala me'ateva. The doctors, when we talk about a cut in the finger, they will tell you that has to do with the molecules. The molecules multiply and they join in and all that. So that you won't see any chayes nefesh in it. Like if the cut heals, don't see chayes nefesh. But anyone who learned any Torah is able to recognize that that is not what's happening. He's not so deeply steeped in Teva. He recognizes that there is something ruchnisdike in what's happening here. It's not a gashmisdike. It's not a Tevasdike thing. We recognize that this is happening because that's a truth. That's a chayes nefesh. This is a tremendous deal. It's a gilui oyer elyon l'mayla min hateva. We can't explain how come it happens. Mayla min hateva. It's a gilui of chayus. We have no way to explain it in Teva. Chayus, as we learned before, remember? Masha Margish Hu Chay, this is a Gilu of Shemavai. Remember that? And this happens as a result of standing up to Torah. To obstacles. And it does not happen without this little battle. Standing up to it, disregarding it. At a small scale, but at some point, disregarding it. No, I don't want to go there, I want to go here. I don't want to go into town, I want to go into locals. Without this battle, doesn't happen. Because Teva itself will never show you this. Like I said, even if you see this miracle, it heals, you'll try to explain it every time. And if you don't have the full explanation, I don't know the full answer. I'll find it in 100 years from now. You're limited to seeing things only from Teva and finished. Remember I told you the story of Achad Ha'am who went to see, who saw the Rebbe Rasham, they were cousins. And the Rebbe said about him that if he would stand by his Yamsuf and he would see the Yam split with Moshe's staff, he would still remain the same after praise. He was not able to see beyond Teva. Teva will never show you. And to break away from it, it has to be a break. It has to be inside the person's inside, inside his neshama. I see this and that's where I want to go. Without this battle, it doesn't happen. And this battle we do all the time. Every day. It's time to learn it's a battle. That's why it's a battle. Okay.